Thank you for joining. So today I want to speak about the Heart Sutra again. Let me share the screen with you. This is the original with a Japanese reading and an English translation that you can also find on the website of Plum Village. I think this translation stems from Thich Nhat Hanh. First, let me read the Japanese text or the Chinese text, but in the way that the Japanese would read it, up to the point which we got to. Kanji zai bosatsu gyojin hanya haramita ji shoken goun kai ku do issai kuyaku. When the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara practiced deep prajna paramita, he or she saw clearly that the five skandhas are all empty and thus was liberated from suffering. Shali shi, shiki fui ku, ku fui shiki, shiki sokuze ku, ku sokuze shiki. Shariputra, form is not different from emptiness. Emptiness isn't different from form. Form is just emptiness. Emptiness is just form. Jusogyo shiki yaku bunyo ze. And the same is true for perception, grasping, our reaction to what we grasp, and to the whole world that we construct. All of that is empty. And I think 2 weeks ago, in the end, I was referring to a famous line from a poem about Zazen that stems from Hakuin. Hakuin, if I remember right, lived in the 17th century or so, about 300 to 400 years ago. He was a famous Rinzai monk, and this song about Zazen starts with the lines, all beings originally are Buddha. It's like ice and water. Ice is completely water. There's no ice separate from water. This water manifests as ice, but we, being ice, usually forget that we are water, and in the midst of water we cry, we are thirsty, because we forget we are the water. And that's the same about our relationship to Buddha. We are already Buddhas. It's not that we have a Buddha nature which allows us to become Buddhas in the future. We are manifested Buddhas, but we completely forgotten about that. We only see our deluded side. And I think this, identity of form and emptiness, you can also read it like this. Form is our deluded nature. We all have different names, different nationalities, a different history, but at the same time we share the same Buddha nature. There are different ways you can also interpret emptiness and form. Like, for example, one interpretation that's quite popular is to interpret emptiness like something like energy, and form is something like matter. And when you, for example, study elementary physics, then you know that all of matter in the end is nothing but energy. If you look at particles closely, actually they are not particles anymore, or quantum physics says they are actually probability waves. They're waves of probability, whatever that's supposed to mean. But these waves of probability, or energy if you want to, manifests as matter. There's no matter separate from energy, and all of this energy eventually becomes matter. So that's another way you could read this identity of matter and emptiness. Emptiness is energy, and all of form is this formless energy. I have no difficulties with that, so for me that interpretation is also okay, but it's a little bit, how do you say, disattached from our reality of life. So I want to propose another reading. I don't have it in the English here in this paper, but this would be the Japanese. I don't know if there's anything similar to this, for example, in Chinese. But the Japanese, for example, to do something in Japanese means suru. Watashi ga suru means I do something. But a lot of the times, Japanese prefer to say sasete itadaku, which is hard to translate. Basically, it's a more polite form of saying I do something. But literally, it means I have the favor of being made done. Something or somebody who is not named here is letting me do something. I'm receiving the favor to be led to do something. For example, rather than saying I'm going home now, I'm going home now, which means kairimasu in Japanese. Japanese would say kairasete itadakimasu. I'm receiving the favor of being allowed to go home now. And the point I want to make is we talk about, for example, I live, or I think both in English as in German there's this phrase I lead a life. I lead a life, which in a way it's a kind of, everybody understands this expression, I'm leading my life. But it's a little bit a funny expression, because are you really leading your life? Sometimes it feels the other way around. Sometimes I think we get the feeling actually it's not me that's leading my life. Life is leading me. Often we have this realization, no, life is leading me. So does this mean that there are actually two lives? One life that I lead and another life that's leading me? Of course not. That would feel funny. There's only one life. So does this mean that it's wrong to say I'm leading my life? I wouldn't say it's wrong. Actually, I think it's important that we take this responsibility for our life and realize if I don't take responsibility for my life, nobody will do it. I have to lead my life. But the other side is also true, that actually it's not me leading life, but life is leading me. Or when we talk about Zazen, at the beginning we think I do Zazen. I do my best here on the cushion. I meditate. I try to be mindful. But then sometimes we have this realization, no, Zazen is doing Zazen. Or some people say Zazen is doing me. Zazen is doing me in this moment. And that's also true. And these two sides, they contradict each other, but at the same time they are two sides of the same coin. And that's for me also another meaning of form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form, that's me leading my life, me doing Zazen. I'm doing Zazen. Form is emptiness. But then I have the realization, but also Zazen is doing me. Life is leading me. Emptiness is form. These two are completely different and still connected. It's the same reality of life. Okay, maybe up to here, and if we have the time after that, I will proceed a little bit.
我们上节课读到舍利子，色不异空，空不异色，色即是空，空即是色，色想行识亦复如是。然后上次老师其实他最后的时候呢，提到了白隐禅师他之前提到的一个例子，就是水和冰的一个比喻。我们就是把我们比喻成水，然后我们和佛之间的 关系其实就是水和冰的关系。我们是水，但是我们又离不开冰，我们也是冰。我们有的时候可能忘记了，我们其实本身就已经是佛。这个就好像我们是有不同的历史背景、肤色、语言，但是我们的佛性是一样的，其实就是水和冰的这个关系。然后前面提到的色不异空，空不异色，色即是空，空即是色。这个色和空其实就是它的外形状，或者说我们说的是物体实体。然后空呢，指的其实就是能量。其实换句话说，色即是空，空即是色，就是这些有形状的、有形的物体呢，其实也都是能量。这些能量也是离不开这些有形的物体的，它们是不分离的。就好像我们在说，我们就好像，就是日语里面有一句话是，比如说，我做什么事情的时候，日语里面有敬语，请让我做哪件事情。它有这个敬语，或者比如说日语里面说，我现在要回家了，然后他所表达的是请让我回家，就是他用敬语，另外一种好像是有一种什么样的能量，请你允许我回家。那你看，其实是我想回家，还是你允许我回家？是我做什么事情，还是你允许我做什么事情？是我做了这件事情，还是这个事情让我做了这件事情？其实也是这个关系。就是我们有的时候好像是，你像在德语里面，其实它有一个语言是我领导了我的生活，我领导了我的生命。其实你想一想，是你真的领导了你的生活，还是生活引导了你？还是生命引导了你，生活引导了你？就好像我们在坐禅一样，是我在坐禅，还是禅修禅让我坐了下来呢？还是说这个禅修这种行为，造化了我？是我在坐禅，还是禅在做我呢？好像，就是这个就是色和空。我们有的时候认为这个色就是说它的外形，实物，我们看到这些有形的，好像是我在引导我的生活，我在坐禅，但实际上其实也是生活在引导我，也是坐禅让我坐下来坐禅。大家有问题的话可以提啊。
Thank you. Let me share the screen once more. The next sentence would be this one here. Shalishi. I read this one. Shiki fui kuku fui shiki shiki sokuze kuku sokuze shiki juso gyo shiki yaku bunyo ze. And after this, Avalokiteshvara calls once more to Shariputra. Shalishi. Shoho kuso fusho fumetsu fuku fujo fuzo fugen. The character for emptiness is this one.
We can't hear you, Muhu.
how is it now? Is it better? Okay, it's good now. So, okay, I got a problem with my microphone then. I was talking about 3 different characters which all have a kind of negative meaning. Ku is emptiness, and in this sentence here, fu sho, fu metsu, fu ku, fu jo, fu zo, fu gen. Fu means un, like for example, sho means to be born, fu sho means not born, unborn. Metsu means to disappear, to perish. Fumetsu means unperishable, it's not perishing. Fujo would be, jo is clean. Fujo, it's not clean. Fuku, ku is dirty. Fuku means it's not dirty. And later we hear this character which means no or not or nothing. And all of these ways of negating something, they differ a little bit, but well, at least today I won't go into the details too much. Anyway, what's said here to Shariputra, let me have a short look at the text once more. Shariputra, Shoho, Ku, So, all of these dharmas, all of these things, all aspects of reality are an expression of emptiness. And again, we can understand emptiness as a form of energy, but we can also understand it as this life that we think we are leading this life, but actually, when we realize it, we are led by this life. It's basically something that's beyond us, something that contains everything. And for example, this person here was born 56 years ago, and this person, myself, will die. When I was younger, I was maybe a little bit more handsome, and now maybe I'm less. But when we talk about reality as a whole, being empty, reality as a whole is neither born nor does it disappear. It's neither clean nor is it dirty. Fuzo, fugen means it becomes more, it becomes less. It's neither extending nor is it contracting. The whole of reality, which is empty, is neither gaining nor is it losing. All of the, how do you say, characteristics that apply to things inside the game, what I usually call the game, gaining, losing, being better, being worse, being more handsome or less handsome. Nothing of that applies to life in itself. Life is beyond these categories. That's how I understand this second line, the new line, Shariputra. Don't you see that the emptiness in which all things are contained is neither appearing nor disappearing. It's neither dirty nor is it undirty, or suffering isn't mentioned here, but we talk about suffering and happiness. And Buddhism is famous for claiming that everything is suffering. But if you actually take a look at the whole, inside the whole, there's suffering, but the whole is neither suffering nor is it happiness. Even samsara or nirvana are only terms, words that make sense inside the whole. But the whole in itself is neither samsara nor is it nirvana. Or if you want to apply these terms to the whole, you would have to say, as Mahayana Buddhists actually do say, it's both samsara and nirvana. Samsara and nirvana are the two sides of this one coin, the coin of reality. Okay, so much for today from my side. After translation, if you have questions or things that you want to share, you're welcome to do so.
刚刚老师又读了一句，就是下面舍利子是诸法空相，不生不灭，不垢不净，不增不减。然后老师说，其实空呢指的就是这些所有的，空。刚刚老师提到了是一种实物的能量。那我们有的时候会认为是我在引领我的生命，我在引领我的生活，其实我们反而是被生活引领的，我们是被引领的。因为在你我之外，其实有一种更大的、超乎于这些生命的、超乎于你我的一个能量。就好像老师刚刚指他自己说，我这个人可能在50年以后就会死，然后我年轻的时候可能比现在更帅，或者我以前的时候可能比现在更好看，但是这些都不是我或者是我的生命，都不是我可以掌控的，它是超乎于你我之外，也是在生命之外一种更强大的能量。所以我们说这个行呢，它是不增不减，就是不垢不净，然后也不生不灭。所以有一些就是这个空相和这个实物呢，它这个生命能量其实是很超越的，它是一种超越生命的能量。就好像我们有的时候觉得非常痛苦，或者是非常的幸福，其实痛苦跟幸福有些时候痛苦之中可能也会有一些幸福的东西，而幸福之中也会有一些痛苦，其实它也是分不开的。就是大乘佛教其实里面它也讲到了生死轮回，讲到了涅槃重生，其实这两个也是它是不生不灭，不增不减的。然后大概是这个意思啊，这个好深奥呀。然后大家有问题可以提啊。
Thank you. So, if you have questions, anything that you would like to share, Julian, please.
I just wanted to reassure you that you're still handsome.
Thank you.
And then I had a question. Given that this theory that the Heart Sutra is very much a Chinese summary, if you like, of teaching, how much do you think the element of Tao and Taoism is influencing this idea of emptiness? Because it strikes me in that passage you were just reading about not expanding, not contracting. You could just put the word Tao in there and it would sound exactly the same as the Tao Te Ching or something like that. Do you think that is an influence here?
Well, I find the theory that the Hanya Xingyu exists today was actually, how do you say, created in China and then re-imported into India. But this passage that we read today is a quote from the old Prajna sutras that existed in India. So I think we would go too far if we would say that this passage was actually inspired by Taoism. But the way it was read, interpreted by Zen Buddhists and Mahayana Buddhists later, I think that was certainly inspired by Taoism. For example, to take emptiness not just as everything is void, but there's something born out of this emptiness. As I said today, you could interpret it as energy. You could say it's life in itself, the reality of life being emptiness. And then probably we're pretty close at Taoism. And I think in India, emptiness was more kind of like a neutral zero that has less of this kind of life force quality. So I think the passage in itself came from India, but then it's got a very new Chinese flavor because of the influence of Taoism.
Well, that makes sense, because I know that people like David Hinton say, you know, you can't underestimate the influence of Tao on the development of Chan and therefore Zen. So yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, I mean, some people say Zen is Taoism with a, how do you say, Indian, how do you say, robe over it. But Dogen was kind of, how do you say, against this view, but still you can't deny a very, very strong influence of Taoism and also Neo-Confucianist philosophy on the development of Chan in China.
Thank you.
Anything else that you would like to share or ask? No questions today? Well, it's almost 9 o'clock here in Japan. So if you have no questions, I would say thank you, wish you a nice week. And if you like, next week we will talk about Sawaki Roshi's To You again. And I would get back to the Heart Sutra in 2 weeks. Thank you, Xuan-san, for hosting us. And hope to see you again in a week. Thank you, everybody.